What I'm going to do in this presentation, I'm going to Q&A myself. The first thing, before I start the Q&A, I start to interview myself and lay the premises down. Who is talking? I'm an old man. I'm 71 right now. I'm 5 feet 3 inches tall. I've got a big fat belly, big moon face. As you can see, I'm bald, I'm clean. As you can see, this is an old man talking. You see that? This is an old man talking. Well, I've come to find out, if you're short, 5'1", 5'2", 5'3" as a man, you're at immediate disadvantage. You will not be taken seriously, paid effective attention to, given respect and credibility for who you are and what you say. I am the firm believer that all of that has to be won in an arena of combat, struggle. It's not a right by entitlement. So the first premise, if you're short, and that's who I'm addressing right now, my own people, the short, small man. If you're short, like me, small, diminutive, insignificant, all these are connotations. All these are monster stereotypes and caricatures and mockeries. The challenge is to free yourself continuously from that pillory. The primordial premises, the ground that underlies everything else. What I'm saying is philosophically premised on man, the wolf to man. It's philosophically premised on the fact that the psychological tenets and presuppositions of humanitarianism, although it sounds good in theory, practically speaking, is folly. Man has a need, an endemic need, for a repository to project his aggressiveness, his narcissism, his one-upsmanship, his hot genital strivings, the continuous need to be a god. Essentially, his fundamental narcissism, his jealousy, his constitutional factors that necessitate the greed principle. What's in it for me? That's primordial. Man is a trousered ape. Civilization, socialization is a compromise and a compensation for all of that. But man, in a civilized, quote-unquote, society, a civilized jungle, it's a combat situation. And man has to continuously develop acting skills. It's all showtime to prevail. This is fundamental. You can't get away from competition. You can't soften it. You can't put a safety net under it. Because of the greed principle, which is fundamental. What's in it for me? How do I stand to benefit? Who foots the bill? That's the essential question, the only question. Everything else appears to me to be a footnote to that premise. Who foots the bill? So therefore, if you're a small, short, insignificant appearing man, foolish to look at, humble because you are vertically challenged, given some men give other men unmerited respect and they stymie themselves. They paint themselves into a corner. There's no entitlements. There's no fairness. There's no court of appeal. Either you did or you didn't. If I could have, I would have. If I didn't, then I couldn't. That's the final judgment. What I'm doing is, before I start interviewing myself, I'm breaking everything down to its lowest common denominator. I'm reducing particularly my people, the small, short, ugly, disenfranchised man, down to maggot size. I'm cleaning out the Aegean stables of all the humanitarian, liberal hopes and myths you've been inculcated with. It just is not so. For the short, small man like me, it's vital, your life depends on it, that you get into the best physical shape of your life. I'm in tremendous shape. Strong, powerful muscle. You have to give up the aesthetics because of the balance, because of the proportion problem. You have to understand biomechanical positioning and advantage. You have to be very strong physically, but the muscle has to be functional and effective in a real world context. It's imperative. Your life depends on learning and fortifying and cauterizing and innervating street fighting techniques. Because the leading premise, two leading premises as I see it. One, you wake up and there should be a neon sign on your chest. Dr. Thompson said it correctly in verbal judo. It says showtime. It's all a show out there. It's all a performance. Knowing how to handle yourself and the situation when it counts. You can't do that if your cobra is weak. That backs up your chameleon. That's the facade you present in your competitive struggle out there in the arena where it counts. A strong mind, a powerful mind that understands street smart, practical assertiveness skills. Timing and positioning is everything. So your body has to be innervated by training continuously. This is a way of life. It has to be a philosophy, a way of life to brace yourself on. Your body knows what to do because it's trained, it's razor sharp. Your mind has to be tough and sharp too. So you could read a social situation, a context, and your social opponent. And you are conditioned, you've conditioned yourself, you grab the bull by the horns, and under your own self-sufficiency and self-reliance, you've built yourself up in a hot crucible. You've cauterized these skills so that you are intimidated by no one. When I saw Donald Trump in An Apprentice, and he was talking to a candidate called Sam, and Sam was short, frail looking. He was Punchinello because of his height. Very intelligent kid, but Punchinello. And Trump came up to him and he said, "Sam, I didn't know you were so short. I didn't realize you were so short." And then he reached out to Sam. He said, "Sam, shake my hand." Put his hand out to Sam. When Sam grabbed it, because Sam was so proud. The Trump acknowledged me. The Trump shook my hand. And my other bigger adversaries, competitors, taller, more impressive to look at. Much more impressive to look at than Sam. But he's not shaking their hand, he's shaking my hand. But when Trump shook Sam's hand, I saw something that was a horrible sight. Horrible sight for a small, short man like me to witness. Trump grabbed his hand and then pulled him. And Sam's balance was so weak. The strength in his body was so puny, so weak. Trump only pulled him right down on his face. And I saw a triumphant look in the Trump's face. Look, kind of a little sadistic. And I know about that. And then Trump said, "Sam, I know they're trying to peg you out. Your competitors, the other apprentice candidates you are competing with, they're trying to peg you out." And Sam was wearing a foolish hat. Sam was Punchinello to get attention because he didn't have any appearance. And he had a foolish personality. And then Trump looked at him and looked at him hard, a Trump way. And Trump said to Sam, "Sam, I know what's happening to you. There's only one way you can change that." What's that, Mr. Trump? What's that, Mr. Trump? And the Donald said, Win, Sam. And then he just walked away. Well, of course, if you're not in shape, and this is my point, mentally and physically, you may be a smart entrepreneur like Sam, up and coming. If you're not hard and tough within you, particularly if you're a small, short, disenfranchised man, you're in a world of hurt. You're going to have to do Punchinello, the clown, foolish things to get attention. And what's the end result of that? And I'm the expert on this. I'm the expert beyond a doubt. They're going to laugh at you, guy, right behind your back. They'll mock you behind you. They'll stroke you. They'll shag you. They'll give you false courage and false confidence only to laugh on your ass behind your back. Now, the interview begins. What must I do to get myself, to pull myself up by my own bootstraps? I realize, because I have no personal appeal, I have no attractiveness, I have no game, I have no confidence, I have massive inferiority feelings. I'm a victim. What must I do to de-victimize? That's a good question. You can take the easy road. You can listen to Tony Robbins. You can listen to all your gurus who will admonish you, who will lecture to you, who will sermonize. And they'll give you all kinds of cheap advice, all kinds of pithy sayings and phony truisms. In an arena that will give you a temporary buzz. You'll feel like you can climb mountains while you're in the arena and while you're looking at the guru Tony Robbins prima donnaing up and down the stage and karate chopping the night and yelling out and screaming, if you're with me, if you understand what I'm saying, say ah! And all that other demagoguing bullshit. But it comes down to this. You gotta hit the irons. You gotta hit the gym. And you have to do so under your own self-resources and self-reliance and self-motivation. Because if you're looking for motivation outside yourself, you're going to find phony admonishments, phony encouragers, phony uplifters. You're going to find a world of phoniness, a world of pithy sayings and puff. But when the real test comes, all that bullshit evaporates. Go poof, a poof. Wait a minute. The great Tony Robbins say this. The great Tony a poof. You got nothing to back yourself up. That's all show, man. But the show is. Remember, I said everything's showtime. But you have to back the show up with a good, strong cobra. Tony, you can't will yourself a cobra. You can't identify with a Tony Robbins hero figure or any other hero figure, sports figure, whatever the hell the latest bullshit is. You gotta have it, either you have it or you don't. And you have to train it into yourself, hard and dogged down. You have to build up your mind tough and hard, street smart. You have to observe. You have to pay attention to what's around you. You have to ask yourself a lot of tough, hard questions. You have to learn to interrogate yourself objectively and coldly like a prosecutor, but you have to be your own prosecutor to yourself. You're prosecuting you're fighting for your life is what you're doing. You're fighting for your recognition, for your importance, for your credibility. I'm not talking about acceptance. I don't give them no damn acceptance. Because I do believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, first, you have to be a powerful rock in an island. That means self-sufficient on your own self-supports before you can progress from there. All these lefties, all this humanitarian, get it wrong. None of this will work if you're not master of your own ship. And you can be impoverished, you see. You can have nothing in the world. You can be eating at a rescue mission. I know what I'm talking about. Rescue mission food. You see. But you can train. You got to train. You got no. Your life depends on it. You got to build effective, strong muscle within the limitations of your own genetics. You got to understand your own biomechanical advantages and disadvantages. You got to be very intelligent and self-critical and self-evaluative about your choices of behavior in the situation. You have to know and understand what it is to be serious. This is not a joke. It's not a game out there, as I always thought it was. This is not Alice in Wonderland. It's not a masturbation fantasy. It's not escape. Escape is a temporary bomb on a major problem. You hear your reverends or pastors, whatever this guy's called, your Trump's spiritual teacher, what's that guy's? Marble Collegiate Church, Norman Vincent Peale. This grovelly voiced old reverend, he's already passed away, 19th century reverend. Turn of the century reverend. Talk about positive thinking, about all this bullshit. Bullshit. If you have nothing to back up that positive thinking with, it's empty. It's lies you're telling yourself. It's phony uplifts. Completely out of sync with the reality out there. Completely out of sync. It's important to demythologize yourself. You have to go out in the combat zone. You have to go out in the arena. But you can only do that if you're fit mentally and physically to do so. If you go out in the arena and you're sissy, you're punching bag, what are you learning? What are you doing? All you're doing is just confirming your own inferiority feelings. And you should feel inferior if you're out of shape mentally and physically. You're walking around with a fat belly. Your muscles are weak. A man like Trump, who was a fatso. Trump is a hog, man. If you look closely at the Trump, he's got height, he's got pomp, but he's a hog. He's a fat boy, but he's got height and mechanical advantage over a short man, pull him down. And then you could sense. Now only a man who is a short man like me could see it. The look of arrogance and triumph on the Trump's face when he almost pulled Sam right. He grabbed Sam's hand, the candidate, and almost pulled him right down flat on his face. Sam's balance was off. Sam was so happy that Trump, he shook the hand of Trump. The other candidates, his taller, better appearing, more physically stronger adversaries, he didn't shake their hands, but he shook this hand. But the reason he shook this hand, make a fool out of him. This is the way I saw it. He's Punchinelli, act like Punchinelli. Here he is, Trump comes in. Here's this clown wearing a funny gaucho hat. The hell are you doing with a man like Trump coming with a gaucho hat? You look like a fool. A nervous little guy, twitching nervous. And then these clowns, these short little clowns go into the Mighty Mouse mode and look even more foolish with nothing to back it up. That gets right down to the premise I'm laying out. You better be in shape. You better be in the shape of your life. Your life depends on it, mentally and physically. You better be in shape. And you better be well schooled in practical, street smart tactics. Honesty's not the best policy. It's not a question of, don't worry about winning or losing. Worry about the fight. Worry about the fight. And worrying about win or lose, I will be memorable. And that's enough. I like that movie where I saw Full Metal Jacket. And the drill instructor walks up to Private Joker and say, Joker. He said, look at Joker here. Look at Private Joker. Joker is stupid. He's immature, but he's got guts. And then the drill instructor said, that's enough, and that's enough. Private Joker is immature. He's stupid in what he's saying, but he's got guts, and that's enough. I agree with that. But you can only have guts if you're in shape. You remember, life is a square jungle. It's like coming in that boxing ring. You better be in shape or you'll be killed. You have to look at it that way. I wish I would have known this 50 years ago. You have to look at it that way. Don't look to anybody to give you a hand up. Because that hand that's lifting you up, there's another hand that's punching you in the head. Figuratively and literally, in every single situation. Depend on yourself. Depend on yourself. So you have to be built physically and mentally to take it. Good example is a Navy SEAL training or Marine Recon training, you see. It's a test of stamina, endurance, and fortitude. It's true grit. Nothing happens without that discipline, without that maturity, without that focus, without that seriousness. Nothing happens. Otherwise, you're just Puccinello, the fool, the clown, the idiot. And I'm the one to know about it. You become a very good absorber. I used to be proud of how well I could take verbal abuse, physical abuse, punishment, covert and overt. And I kept turning the cheek. I became an expert at turning the cheek. So I had a very strong, I revolved my neck so much, I had a strong neck. Boy, I could take some slaps. Do it or die. Before you can make any claims, this is where the lefties have it wrong, my liberal brothers, quote unquote. You have to be ready to fight. You have to be in shape to fight mentally and physically. That's what comes first. You have to be ready to take it in order to give it. That's what I like. When I heard the way Muhammad Ali trained, I like that. Ali trained, he took beatings in training because he wanted to get his body and his mind in shape to take punishment. You give punishment, you also have to be ready to take it. And that calls for toughness in mind and body. And it goes 10 times for a man like me who's vertically challenged. And I'll tell you right now, if I could have his strength, I would, in a heartbeat, look like a gorilla, big, huge, powerful gorilla, to have his strength, his toughness. It begins with that. All the money in the world, if you're soft, flabby, you take a look at the Trump. He's a billionaire. He's a fat man. He's flabby and soft. If Trump took his $10,000 Versace suit off, and I could take pictures of his flabby body, and then walk over and grab him and pinch him, the pinch test, I'm going to catch glowering fat. Now, you can hide out in a $10,000 Versace suit. You see, you have enough height. Trump's about 6'2". See, you can hide out in a very expensive suit, but I see the fat. I see it. I got radar eyes. I got X-ray eyes that can see fat. I'm not fooled by it. But you can put a good show on, a good bluff. Now, if you have the height and you're physically big, well, you're big because of your fat too. You're bulky and big because you're fat. But you can pull the act off. But if you're 5'3", 5'2", 5'1", you're in a world of hurt, man. If you're glowering fat, a little man like that, who's considered, I'm not calling you little because I'm right there with you. But the world considers you diminutive, little, and insignificant. What in the hell are you going to do about it? If you had all the money, it's not going to change it. You're still a little man. You take my uncle. This bum was 5 feet 1 inches. He had money, so he thought it was hot shit. And he wore an expensive power suit, a black power suit, custom. And he thought it was hot shit. We sat behind his desk on a seat. Of course, he was boosted, so he looked bigger and more important. He looked down. He put a mean ass look on his face. He's the boss. Everybody call him Mister, 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 Mister. Stand up. A little bitty guy. What in the hell is he? I'd rather look like a gorilla. Powerful like him, like that gorilla. And be on a park bench in Central Park in the wintertime, the dead of winter. Then be a millionaire living in a penthouse and look like my uncle, that bum. 5 foot 1 inches of little man. Pompous ass. Ooh-wee. He thought he knew everything. You get my point? A man has to live with himself. Next question. How can I magnetize and dynamize a woman for gratification of hot genital strivings? And I mean that in the large sense of the word. Essentially, a practical version, a street version of what Freud meant by the libido theory. How can I do that? You have to be very patient, long-suffering. You have to interrogate yourself. You have to know what you're doing every single second. You have to not put any emphasis on sexuality, erotic, anything controversial, politics. Keep your own counsel. He has to go from one good impression to another good impression with any woman he meets. He's a snail. He's a maggot. What he's fighting to the woman compared to his taller, more attractive, better appearing, more personable adversary. Of this there's no doubt. The society is inundated with that premise, believe me. You just have to look around and listen to people talk. Listen to women talk. What do they want? Good example, Midnight Cowboy, as Joe Buck is coming into Manhattan, and he wants to be a stud. He wants to work for an escort service. He has the height. John Voight go about 6'3", 6'4". And he thought, ooh-wee, he say, most of the men in New York City and Manhattan, nothing but tutti frutti. And then he's listening to the radio. He's approaching Manhattan. He's like, woo-wee, this Manhattan calling. And they're doing an interview with the women. And they ask Manhattan women who are the toughest in the world. Very demanding. Appearance, personality, the show is everything. As far as I know. I could be wrong, but that's been my experience. And the interviewer said, what do you look for in a man? What do you want? And every single one of the women interviewed as the Cowboys riding into New York on the Greyhound going through the Hudson Tunnel, I believe. Lincoln Tunnel, whatever the hell they call it, to disembark at the Port Authority. I say, tall. Got to be tall. Personality. Got to have a person. Sense of humor. Got to have a sense of humor. Go to another woman. What do you look for in a man? Tall. Got to be tall. Go to another woman. What do you look for? Tall. Got to be tall. And the cowboy, of course, who's tall, Joe Buck. He said, ooh, wee, New York, here I come. Manhattan, here I come. Of course, he found out different. Because you need a lot of game along with your height, because there's a lot of men, millions of men, who have those qualities. And you're competing against them. Now you need your material backup, don't you? Now you need your game and your personality. You can't be a yokel coming in from the farm, even though you're tall, pretty boy. Do I get the message across? How does the short, small man, that's your question you asked me, how does he compensate and compromise for all this? What does he say? What does he do? Again, it gets back to he's got to be in 3 times the shape of his TDH, tall, dark, and handsome opponent. And an opponent he is, who will laugh at him behind his back and beat him out every time and enjoy his misery. I'm the man who knows. My insight on this is infallible because I've been through it over and over again, down through the years, because I was stupid, because I didn't get ready for the fight of my life to survive out there in the jungle. You got to build your mind up. You can't be like Elliot Rodger and expect an entitlement. There's no such thing as an entitlement. Entitlement bullshit. You have to fight dog down, balls to the wall for everything you get or will get or can get or hope to get out there. It's that real. And everything I'm saying now is primordial to the right and the left politically, a Trump or a Bernie Sanders on one hand, the riddle of the 20th and also the Cornel West, this Dr. Cornel West. This is primordial to that. You can't even enter the world or the arena. These different forces, the Trump, Sanders, Cornel West, are premising unless you have some muscle behind you, unless you have some self-reliance, self-sufficiency, self-confidence, the real stuff. And that's premised on being in the shape of your life, mentally and physically. So that a force like a Trump can't grab your hand because you're a short man and pull you or take your balance from you, pull you right on your face. So you don't have to wear a phony gaucho hat. You're competing for the apprentice, but you want to get attention because you're a short man and your opponents are taller, better appearing, better looking, more personality. So you play Punchinello the clown or you Mickey Mouse it to get attention. You look like a damn fool. And you get a man like Trump. You get a man like the Trumpster who offers you his hand only to mock you. Shake hands with me. And he give him a pull him hard. And the little man almost falls on his face. Now what the hell is that? What the hell is that? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm referencing. And believe me, this is a shit. If you don't take care of it, it's a shit that will call you back like a damn spring, a powerful spring. It lets you go so far, and then it'll slam you right back to where you were right from the start because you didn't take care of what was important. Of this, I have no doubt. Of this and the premises I'm laying down, the primordial premises, I have no doubt. So entering any political discussions, left, right, all this socialism, capitalism, laissez-faire, mixed economy, all this crap. It doesn't mean anything until you own yourself. Then we'll talk about the other things. And when you own yourself physically and mentally, you are in top shape. You have a responsibility. You have a commandment, almost a religious imperative. If you're a short, small, ugly man like me, I'm 5'3", and it took me a lifetime to realize this. I used to identify. I swung from one hero figure to another. I read my Charles Atlas and identified with Atlas. When Atlas told me, I'll tiger tinsel your lats. I'll TNT your fists. I'll marble column your abs. I'll tree trunk your thigh. I'll armor plate your pecs. I'll give you a personality that's magnetic and dynamic. No longer will a bully kick sand in your face, and I'll do this in 12 weeks. I'm calling out to my He-Men. I'm calling out to my army of He-Men. What a marketing genius. And this example is a good example of Hollywood. Madison Avenue. All the crap you see. Hero figures, your music rock stars, or whatever the hell you want to call these people. It's all a fantasy. It's all a game. Everybody wants to cut corners. But like we say in the Bronx, I finally found that out. What we say in the Bronx, that shit don't float. You can't cut corners. Because the corners you cut and what you didn't learn in the process of cutting those corners, practically speaking, will come back to haunt one way or another. And I found that premise to be 100% accurate. The other mistake I made, they always told me, in answer to the question that you asked, women are compassionate, they're kind, they'll show mercy. The meek shall inherit the earth. Biggest lie that's ever been told. The meek, the weak, the practically street smart stupid walk the streets of the broken dreams in Manhattan with me. You're going to walk those streets of broken dreams in the rain, in the cold, late at night, with me in the streets of Manhattan. It's like I told a bodybuilder who was competing in a contest for Mr. New York. You got two choices, my friend. Get out there and pose your ass off. If you win, you're the hero of New York. You're Mr. New York. But if you lose, you're going to the Ridgeway with me for a cup of coffee and a Danish. It's that simple. You're either on the top or you're down on the bottom with me drinking a cup of coffee and a Danish at the Ridgeway. It's that simple. Or you're walking in the night in New York City in a heavy downpour, in the rain, and you're poking your head in this is in the 70s, in the Peppermint Lounge, the in-spot in New York. And the women complain about you. And they tell the bouncer, that little man out there, that ugly little troll of a man, he's creeping us out. The bouncer tells you, get the hell out of there. Who is that man that took that? Who is that man that ate up that insult? You're looking at him right now. I'm looking right at you. I'm that man. Do it or die. Period. Do it or die. There's no other answer to that. Do it or die. The women, make up your mind. There's no entitlement. The women are not, will not, never did, never will give up anything on compassion and humanitarian reasons. The biggest lies ever been told. That's why you have to run and escape, little man, into a masturbation fantasy, masturbation delusions and illusions. And when you're doing it, of course, you're giving yourself all the powerful characteristics of magnetism and dynamism that you lack in reality. And when you get finished, you're going to have to go outside to the real world and face the hawk and put the pieces back together. Humpty Dumpty fell apart after the masturbation session. Now he's got to go out in the street, get the hell out of here, and put your pieces back together again, Humpty. Maybe you'll learn different next time. Maybe it'll be a lesson learned. And start your march again. Pick up your cross, man, and start your march again. When your cross drops, you better pick it up under your own power and carry your cross and start your march again. And when you carry your cross, you better realize people respect. Any questions?